The big clock in Sam's kitchen had just chimed 5. Too early for most, but for Sam, it was the perfect time to start his journey. He zipped up his small travel bag, grabbed his keys, and headed out the door. The streets were still dark, a few street lights humming softly as he drove towards the airport. Soon, the quiet roads gave way to the busy airport entrance, a place always buzzing with life, no matter the hour. The airport was a giant maze of bright lights and echoing sounds. People hurried everywhere, pulling their suitcases on wheels that made little clicking noises on the shiny floor. Families with sleepy children, business people tapping on their phones, and friends hugging goodbye. Everyone had a story, a destination. Sam felt a familiar sense of calm wash over him as he joined the flow. He liked watching people, imagining where they were going and why. After checking his bag and walking through the long security line, Sam found himself in the main waiting area. It was a huge room with rows and rows of seats, mostly empty at this early hour. The air smelled faintly of coffee and cleaning supplies, a clean, crisp scent. Giant windows looked out onto the runway, where a few planes sat quietly under the soft glow of the morning lights. Sam picked a spot near a window, a bit away from the few other early birds. He liked having space. He settled into the firm, blue seat, placing his bag on the empty seat next to him. He was ready to wait. Sam leaned back, letting out a soft sigh. This was his favorite part of traveling, the quiet time before the rush of boarding. His flight was still a good 2 hours away, leaving him plenty of time to simply exist. He pulled out his book, a well-loved adventure story, but didn't open it right away. Instead, he just watched the sky outside. The sun was slowly peeking over the horizon, painting the clouds in soft shades of pink and orange. It was a beautiful sight, making the plane airport lounge feel a little bit magical. The waiting area was indeed clean and bright, almost sparkling. The shiny floor reflected the overhead lights, making everything look fresh. The blue seats were lined up in neat rows, each one looking exactly the same. Even the air felt clean, without any dust or smells. It was a place made for waiting, a calm spot in a busy world. Sam felt safe and peaceful here. He took a deep breath, letting his shoulders relax. His long flight across the country would be tiring, but for now, he had this quiet moment. He thought about the warm cup of tea he'd have on the plane and the cozy blanket he always packed for chilly flights. He was ready for a good read and a smooth journey. A small smile touched his lips as he finally opened his book, ready to get lost in its pages before his own adventure truly began. The gentle hum of the airport was a quiet song in the background, a perfect lullaby for his peaceful wait. Sam was deep into his book, the airport's gentle hum fading into the background, when a shadow fell over his page. He looked up, ready to offer a small, polite smile to whoever was passing by. But the person wasn't passing. A man, tall with dark hair and a calm face, stopped right next to Sam's row of seats. Sam noticed the man was wearing a simple, dark jacket and jeans. Nothing special, but he had a way of standing that made him seem very sure of himself. There were so many empty seats in the waiting area. Whole rows lay vacant, stretching out like blue waves across the polished floor. You could pick any seat, have a whole row to yourself if you wanted. Yet, this man, Liam, as Sam would later learn, walked straight to the seat right next to Sam's. Not the one with Sam's bag, but the one on the other side. He sat down with a soft thud, much closer than felt natural. Sam's bag was still on the seat between them, a silent barrier. Sam blinked, a little confused. He pulled his book a bit closer, feeling a tiny spark of unease. It wasn't rude, exactly, but it was odd. Why sit here? The man didn't look at Sam, but instead stared straight ahead at the runway, as if lost in thought. Sam could feel the warmth of the man's arm just a few inches from his own, even with his bag between them. He tried to go back to his book, but the words seemed to blur. The peaceful quiet he had enjoyed just moments before now felt a little different, a little less his own. A little frown creased Sam's forehead. He tried to tell himself it was nothing. Maybe Liam just liked this particular spot, or maybe he didn't even notice how many other empty seats there were. Sam pushed his glasses up his nose and stared hard at his book again. He tried to focus on the words, on the hero fighting a dragon, but it was no use. Part of his mind was too aware of the man sitting so close. He could feel the soft rustle of Liam's clothes when he shifted a bit. The air around them felt thicker, different from before. Sam usually liked his space, especially in public places. This felt like his bubble had been popped. He thought about moving, but that would mean drawing attention to the situation, perhaps even being rude. He didn't want to make a big deal out of nothing. So, he decided to just act normal, as if everything was perfectly fine. Sam cleared his throat softly and turned a page, making a show of being very interested in his story. He even chuckled a little bit, a fake laugh, just to seem relaxed. He hoped Liam would get the hint that Sam was happy doing his own thing and didn't want company. He stole a quick look at Liam. The man was still staring out at the runway, a calm look on his face. He didn't seem to notice Sam's unease at all. Sam sighed quietly. He just needed to ignore it. He needed to shrink into his seat and let the moment pass. It was just a weird airport thing, nothing more. Time seemed to slow down and then speed up all at once. Sam kept his eyes on his book, but his ears were listening. He heard the usual airport announcements, calling out flight numbers and boarding times. Each announcement was followed by the soft rumble of suitcases being pulled away and the fading sound of footsteps. Slowly, one by one, the few other people in their part of the waiting area gathered their things and left. A family with a crying baby packed up. A business lady clicked her heels down the hall. Two friends waved goodbye before heading to different gates. The bright room, once filled with a gentle hum of quiet activity, grew quieter and quieter. The rows of blue seats became even more empty, stretching out into a vast, silent space. Sam risked a quick peek over the top of his book. There was no one else in sight. Just him and Liam. Liam was still sitting beside him, staring out the window at the now brighter sky. The sun had fully risen, turning the runway a pale yellow. The emptiness of the lounge made Sam feel a strange mix of relief and a new kind of nervousness. On one hand, the other people were gone, and their watchful eyes were no longer a worry. On the other hand, the quiet now felt very big. There was no one else to distract from the fact that Liam was still sitting so unusually close. The gentle airport hum was almost gone, replaced by a deep quiet. Sam's heart gave a tiny thump. It was just the two of them now. The silence between them stretched, thick and heavy. Sam could hear his own breathing and the distant, muffled sounds of the airport. He pretended to read, but his eyes weren't moving across the words. Every fiber of his being was focused on Liam. He saw Liam's hand resting on his own leg, casual and still. Then, very slowly, almost too slow to notice at first, Liam's fingers began to move. They didn't jump or grab, but rather slid with a careful grace. It was just a tiny shift, then another, barely a whisper of movement. Sam's breath hitched in his throat. His eyes darted down, trying to see without truly looking. He saw Liam's hand, long and pale, inching closer. It passed over the smooth fabric of Sam's bag, which still sat between them. Then, in a move that felt both bold and incredibly soft, Liam's fingers, then his whole palm, gently brushed against Sam's leg. It landed just above Sam's knee, a light, warm weight. The touch was feather-light, barely there, but it felt like a jolt of electricity. Sam froze. He didn't move a muscle, didn't even breathe. It was a touch that spoke volumes in the quiet, empty room. It wasn't rough or demanding, but a calm, steady presence. The warmth of Liam's hand seeped through the fabric of Sam's jeans, a silent message in the sterile, public waiting area. Sam's heart began to beat a little faster, a drumming against his ribs. He felt utterly exposed, yet strangely, deeply seen. A sudden shiver ran down Sam's spine, not from cold, but from pure surprise. His breath was still caught in his chest. A stranger's hand, on his leg, in the middle of a brightly lit airport. It was incredibly bold, a move so unexpected it made his mind whirl. This wasn't a dark bar or a hidden corner. This was a public space, clean and open, where anyone could walk by at any moment. The bright lights of the lounge seemed to shine even brighter on the two of them, making the daring act feel even more dangerous. Sam's eyes flickered, unable to stay fixed on his book any longer. His head moved almost on its own, a quick, jerky scan of their surroundings. He looked down the long rows of empty blue seats. No one. He glanced towards the gate desks, where a lone attendant was quietly typing on a computer, too far away and too busy to notice. He looked toward the shining glass windows that showed the plains outside, quiet and still. Still no one. The vast, empty space seemed to hold its breath with him. Even though they were alone, the danger of being seen felt very real. What if someone rounded the corner? What if a cleaner came by? The thought made his skin prickle. It was thrilling and scary all at once. The silent, daring touch was a secret, but it was a secret held in a very open place. Sam felt his cheeks grow warm, a blush he couldn't control. His heart hammered a fast rhythm against his ribs, a drumbeat of nerves, and something else he couldn't quite name. Sam's quick scan of the lounge finished, and his eyes, drawn by an invisible thread, snapped back to Liam. For the first time, Liam wasn't looking out at the runway. His head had turned, and his gaze was fixed squarely on Sam. His eyes were a deep, dark brown, and they held no hint of surprise or apology. They were calm, steady, and strangely knowing. There was no rush, no panic in Liam's face, as if touching a stranger in a bright airport was the most natural thing in the world. But in that calm look, Sam saw something else, something sharp and electric. It was a challenge, a silent question. Liam's eyes dared Sam to move, to speak, to pull away. They asked, "What will you do?" It was a bold dare, wrapped in a peaceful expression. Sam felt a strange pull, like a magnet. He couldn't look away from those eyes, even though every part of him screamed to break the connection. The air between them seemed to hum with the unspoken words. Sam felt his own face, hot and tight, while Liam's remained cool and unreadable. The public setting, the bright lights, the emptiness of the lounge, all of it made the moment feel very exposed, very raw. It was a secret held in plain sight, a daring game of wills between two strangers. Sam felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity bubbling inside him. He was a rabbit caught in the headlights, unsure whether to run or stay still. Liam's eyes held him captive, asking for a reaction, waiting to see what Sam would do next. Sam's heart thumped a wild, fast rhythm against his ribs. It felt like a drum solo playing just for him, loud in the quiet airport lounge. His cheeks were still warm, and a strange tingling spread from where Liam's hand rested on his leg. It was a feeling he hadn't known before, a jumble of strong emotions. First, there was fear, a sharp, cold fear of being seen, of being caught, doing something wrong in a place where everyone was supposed to follow the rules. What if someone did walk by? What would they think? What would they say? He pictured eyes judging him, whispers following him. The bright, clean airport suddenly felt less safe, more like a stage where he was under a spotlight. But mixed with that fear was something else, something warm and dizzying, excitement. It was a secret thrill, a daring game that made his breath catch. This stranger, Liam, was doing something so bold, so unexpected, and Sam was a part of it. The thought made his stomach flutter. It was wrong, maybe, but it felt alive. It was a spark in his quiet, ordinary morning. His mind raced, trying to figure out what to do. Should he move his leg? Should he speak? Should he just pretend it wasn't happening? Each choice felt big, heavy. He wanted to pull away, to keep safe, but a part of him also wanted to see what would happen next. He was stuck between wanting to escape and wanting to lean in. The silence stretched, filled only by the frantic beat of his own heart. Even though his eyes had just swept the lounge and seen no one, Sam's mind kept playing tricks on him. He imagined eyes watching from hidden corners, behind the thick pillars, or from the snack shop that was still closed. He knew it was mostly empty, but mostly wasn't totally. There was always a chance. A cleaning person might push their cart around the bend. An early airport worker might pass through on their way to another part of the building. The bright lights of the airport, which usually made him feel safe and open, now felt like spotlights, shining on him and Liam. Every shadow seemed to hide a possible watcher. He thought of the security cameras, small black domes high above, surely recording everything. Even if no human eyes saw them right now, a camera's on might. The thought made his skin tingle with a mix of fear and a strange, thrilling sense of being caught. It was such a public place, a sterile, orderly world of rules and expectations. This bold touch felt so out of place, so wrong, yet so real. The contrast made his head spin. He pictured a stern airport employee walking up to them, asking what was going on. The shame of it made his stomach clench. But then the excitement would bubble up again. The risk was part of what made it feel so powerful, so very much alive. The danger of being seen made the secret connection between him and Liam feel even more special, a daring dance in a place where no one dared to dance. The deep quiet of the airport lounge was like a heavy blanket wrapping around Sam and Liam. It was no longer the soft hum of earlier. Now, it was a silence so profound that Sam could almost hear the thoughts buzzing in his own head. This quiet made everything feel more important, more real. The gentle brush of Liam's hand on his leg, a tiny thing, now felt like a huge event. In this stillness, the bold gesture wasn't just daring, it was powerful. It was a secret shared without a single word, a silent conversation in a place designed for noise and hurried hellos and goodbyes. The usual sounds of the airport, rolling bags, faraway voices, boarding calls, had faded, leaving only the two of them in their bright, clean bubble. This made the moment feel like it was just for them, a tiny world created in the heart of a big, busy one. The fact that they were in such an open, public place, yet so utterly alone in their shared secret, added to its power. It was like they were breaking a rule, but no one was there to catch them. This made the connection feel deeper, more intense. The intimacy of Liam's touch was not just in its closeness, but in the brave, quiet way it happened. It was a moment stolen from the everyday, a flicker of something raw and true in a very polished world. Sam felt a strange sense of being part of something special, something that belonged only to him and the stranger beside him. The quiet was their witness and their keeper of secrets. The question hung in the quiet air. What will you do? Sam's mind felt like a whirlwind, yet his body stayed frozen. He looked at Liam's calm eyes, then down at the hand resting on his leg. It was still there, warm and steady. He knew he had to do something, say something, but words felt too big, too loud for the silent moment. A sudden movement would also be too much, too jarring. So, very slowly, Sam made a choice. He didn't pull his leg away with a jerk or push Liam's hand off. Instead, with a quiet, careful effort, he shifted his weight just a tiny bit. He moved his leg, still keeping it mostly in place, but enough that Liam's hand lost its full, soft contact. It was a small slide, a subtle change, just enough to break the direct touch without being rude or angry. It was a small message, a quiet signal. Asterisk, I noticed. I feel it, but I'm choosing to create a little space. Asterisk, it wasn't a rejection in anger, but a gentle boundary. Sam didn't look at Liam as he did this. His eyes stayed fixed on some point in the distance, his face trying to remain as neutral as possible. He wondered if Liam would understand. He wondered if Liam would take his hand away completely. The moment stretched again, filled with the unspoken weight of Sam's tiny, brave movement. His heart still thumped, but a tiny bit slower now, waiting for the next move in this silent dance. Sam held his breath, waiting. His subtle shift had created a small gap, a tiny space between Liam's hand and his leg. The warmth was still there, a ghost of a touch through his jeans. He didn't dare to look, keeping his eyes straight ahead, but every fiber of his skin was listening. He felt the silence stretch even longer, filled with the unspoken question of what Liam would do next. Liam's hand didn't move at first. It stayed exactly where it was, hovering in the newly created space, as if waiting for a clearer sign. It was a moment of pure suspense, a tiny pause that felt like an eternity. Sam's heart gave another thump. He wondered if he had been too subtle, if Liam hadn't understood his quiet message. Then, very slowly, Liam's hand began to retreat. It didn't pull back quickly or with a snap. It was a gentle, unhurried movement, almost like a slow-motion film. His fingers, then his palm, lifted away from Sam's leg. The warmth faded, leaving a cool tingle behind. Sam felt a strange mix of relief and a tiny, unexpected pang of something like regret. Liam's hand settled back onto his own lap, resting there as calmly as it had been before. He didn't make a sound, didn't shift his body. He simply returned to his earlier pose, looking out at the runway. The silent dare was over. The bold touch was gone. The moment, intense and secret, now felt like a dream, leaving Sam with only the fading warmth on his leg and the fast beat of his heart. The quiet in the lounge, thick and heavy, felt like it could last forever. Sam was still sitting very still, Liam's hand now back on his own lap, both of them staring out at the runway. The air between them was full of unspoken words, a strange mix of what had just happened and what might have been. Sam's heart was still doing a fast dance, a little confused by the end of the silent game. Then, a sudden, clear voice broke through the stillness. It wasn't loud, but it cut through the quiet like a sharp knife. "Attention, passengers for Flight BA 123 to London," the airport speaker announced. "This is a final boarding call at Gate 7. Passengers for Flight BA 123, please proceed to Gate 7 now." Sam's head snapped up. Flight BA 123. London. That was his flight. The sound of his flight number, spoken so clearly and loudly, was like a splash of cold water. It pulled him sharply out of the strange, secret world he had been sharing with Liam. The spell was broken. The quiet, tense bubble around them burst. The voice from the speaker was calm and steady, just like all airport announcements, but to Sam, it sounded like a command. It was time to go. The moment with Liam was over, replaced by the very real need to catch his plane. The announcement felt like a helper, a way out of the powerful silence, a clear sign of what he had to do next. The sound of the announcement still echoed in the suddenly too quiet air. It was a clear sign, a definite end to the strange, silent game. Sam quickly closed his book, placing it carefully into his bag. He zipped up the bag, making a small, sharp noise that felt loud in the stillness. Then, with a practiced motion, he stood up from the blue seat. As he rose, a rush of feelings washed over him. First, there was a deep sense of relief. The tension that had coiled in his stomach for what felt like forever slowly began to unwind. The danger of being seen, the heavy weight of the unspoken dare, it was all fading away now. He was free to go, free to step back into the normal world of airport travelers. But mixed with that relief was a small, surprising pang of disappointment. A quiet, soft regret. The moment with Liam had been scary, yes, but it had also been exciting, a thrilling secret that had made his morning feel alive. He hadn't known what to do, but now that it was truly over, a part of him wondered what could have happened. What if he hadn't moved his leg? What if he had met Liam's gaze with a different answer? The questions floated in his mind, like tiny bubbles, as he adjusted the strap of his bag over his shoulder. He took a breath, the airport air filling his lungs, no longer quite as sterile as it had seemed before. With his bag slung over his shoulder, Sam paused for just a moment. He didn't turn fully, but his eyes, almost on their own, flickered sideways. One last look at Liam. Liam was still sitting in the same spot, his calm gaze once again fixed on the distant plains outside the window. He didn't look back at Sam. His face remained peaceful, unreadable, as if the last few minutes had never even happened. It was a silent goodbye. No words were needed, no waves were exchanged. Just that quick, stolen glance from Sam, a final acknowledgement of the strange, bold connection they had shared. He wondered if Liam would remember it, if it would be a tiny flicker in Liam's day, just as it would be for Sam. The airport lounge, bright and empty, seemed to hold their secret safely. Then, Sam turned fully and started walking. His steps were firm, echoing a little in the quiet space. He walked towards the signs pointing to Gate 7, the gate for his flight to London. He left the blue seats, the window, and Liam behind him. The air still carried a faint echo of the intense moment, a memory of the warmth on his leg and the fast beat of his heart. But with each step, the feeling faded a little more, becoming a story he would carry only in his mind. He was just another traveler now, heading to his destination, but with a new, secret experience tucked away in his memory, a bold gesture from a stranger in a sterile public place.